Let Beacon Shipping Logistics take the stress out of your life. Beacon Shipping Logistics provides the most honest auto transport service in the industry. Beacon Shipping Logistics, your one source for transporting one car or a whole fleet. Call 855-374-4748 for a free quote or beaconshippinglogistics.com.
Are you paying one company for auto insurance, another for life insurance, and yet another for homeowners? Having a local insurance agent guarantees you've got the right coverage to protect what's important to you, and you're paying the lowest possible price to make sure you're not paying for coverage you don't need. Call the Karabitsis Insurance Agency for a free insurance evaluation at 949-5090. That's 949-5090. One phone call does it all. Karabitsis Insurance has you covered.
Hi, Dave Hino from Ocean State Tackle, Rhode Island source for the best bait and quality fishing tackle. Freshest pogies, best sea worms, live and frozen bait, huge selection of squid jigs, 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily. Come see me on Branch Ave in Providence for the best deals on fishing tackle. Ocean State Tackle, fresh, frozen, and live bait for freshwater and saltwater fishing. 5 to 9 daily. Call 401-331-BAIT, 401-331-BAIT.
This is John Mons, owner of the Courtesy Auto Group, and I'm here with General Manager Steve Silva.
It's brand new, a program that's revolutionizing the way people buy cars.
And Courtesy Hyundai is the first to bring it, FlexPay,
a program designed to fit your budget and your lifestyle.
Here's how it works. You determine how low your down payment and monthly payments will be. It's that simple.
Right now, drive a 2015 Elantra SE from $69 a month.
Drive new 2015 Hyundai Sonatas from just $16,990 with 0% financing. Plus, Courtesy Hyundai will give you $3,500 for any trade.
All new Hyundais come back with Hyundai Assurance, America's best warranty. A 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty.
Only Courtesy Hyundai will double it to 20 years or 200,000 miles.
We had a customer yesterday that could only afford $89 a month.
The answer, FlexPay, and he's driving. Courtesy Hyundai, located at 939 Newport Avenue in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, exit 2A off of 95 or online at courtesyri.com.
36 monthly, $29.95 this time. Includes rebates plus tax, rates, license, dock, and $5.95 acquisition fee. Financing with free credit. Stock number is 158441.
Join the action at Seekonk Speedway tonight. Free admission for all military and little leaguers. Elmwood Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is the official track truck of Seekonk Speedway, your NASCAR home track.
From Carolina to Conimicut and Washington to Watch Hill, you're listening to Southern New England's most informative talk lineup. Plus, news, traffic, and weather. Never miss it on News Talk 630 and 99.7 FM.
It's my station.
WPRO.
And yes, you are listening to Coalition live on AM 630 WPRO, Rhode Island's station of record, Rhode Island's town hall, Rhode Island's home for civilly disobedient radio on 99.7 FM, Facebook.com/The Coalition Radio, on the mighty Twitter, Coalition_radio. We blog, we post, we stream. Still up on our live stream is Dave Fisher amongst the Black Lives Matter protests just a few weeks ago, coalitionradio.us. We have in studio a very special guest. We have, Stephen, now the head of the Rhode Island chapter of the ACLU. Welcome back. We were starting to talk about the process involved in litigation. Mm-hmm. You've been accused, your organization, I should say, has been accused of essentially...
I'm sure he's been accused personally.
of victim shopping. Okay? How does a typical, and I don't want you to speak to a specific case, but in general, how does a typical complaint arise?
Yeah, well, the vast majority of our lawsuits arise from somebody contacting our office with a problem or concern. Something has happened to them. They feel their rights have been violated, and they're asking for our help. Now, most of the complaints we get, to be honest, don't actually raise civil liberties issues. They may have legitimate grievances, but they're not necessarily things that we can handle. But what I sometimes like to think is of all the calls and requests for assistance we get. How many of these people would have said, "Oh, that ACLU, I can't stand them," until something happened to them, and suddenly they pick up the phone and say, I hope the ACLU can help me. But that is where most of our lawsuits come from. In the promo piece that I wrote for the blog this week, for this show, I wrote, the ACLU is like your car insurance company. You don't really need them
till you really need them. You know, like you don't have much use for them, and you might think they're kind of a pain in the butt, but that day that you get hit, that's when it like everything comes home to roost, and it's like, oh yeah, I do need these guys.
Yeah, I like that. It's very
true.
So,
you know, one of the things, this actually goes back to up in my hometown in Woonsocket, I took issue with a member of our zoning board, one Richard Fagnan, for some anti-Islamic posts they made on his Facebook page, and certainly things he said to me personally. You know, and I kind of on the outside contacted the ACLU, but the more I thought about it, I said, you know, this is really a free speech thing. If anything, they're going to side with this guy being able to say, you know, whatever he wants to say. And what I loved, the quote you had in the Go Local Prav article was, you know, he has freedom of speech in that, you know, he has the right to be a jerk if he wants to be. And I just thought, like, you know, and that kind of, I think, kind of cuts the heart of these free speech things is, you know, nationally, I mean, the ACLU has defended the KKK on free speech issues. You know, this is not a partisan thing. This is just like, no, if this is free speech, then it's free speech, and it's what's good for the KKK is good for, you know, Planned Parenthood is good for political candidates, is good for everybody.
And that's the essence of free speech. I mean, it's easy to say you're for free speech when it's completely, you know, non-controversial. You know, mom and apple pie. Yeah, sure, I'm for free speech.
Right.
It's when it's controversial, it's when it's offensive that free speech matters. Because otherwise, it really doesn't mean anything at all.
If you could, you know, we'd like to go through some of the issues that have really exploded in Rhode Island. For whatever reason, we have a theory here on the show that Rhode Island is the center of everything from reality TV to some of the more bizarre social issues that have cropped up, particularly during the Chafee administration.
So it's a microcosm, if you will.
No, it's a petri dish, a really bad one. Clearly, the most divisive range of issues revolves around religion.
Yes.
Okay. So, if you could explain why it's so important to you to distinguish about the whole difference argument between freedom from religion and freedom of religion. That seems to be the crux of each side's objections.
Well, first, I think it is another good example of, you know, looking at history. I mean, the Jessica Alquist case from a few years ago was one of the most controversial ones we've handled in a very long time. And what was intriguing to me about that case, among many other things, was looking at the history. You would never know from the reaction to that case who were the biggest opponents of prayer in the public schools when it first started back in the 1880s. It was the Roman Catholic Church because they were using the King James Version of the Bible. And Roman Catholics were appalled at the way public schools were using religion. Now, go ahead, you know, move forward 80, 100 years, and you know, but again, it's a great example of why you need to, you know, stick to the straight and narrow. Because ultimately, it's your ox that might end up getting gored, and that's certainly true with the issue of religion. The First Amendment's religion clauses were designed to do two very important things. Yes, it's clearly designed to help protect religious minorities and to keep the government from using its heavy hands to quash people from exercising what might be dissident religious views. I mean, here in Rhode Island, Roger Williams, for goodness sake, we should know all about that.
Right. But arguably, like the single most important founding tenet of our state.
Absolutely. But the flip side of that is the importance of keeping government out of religion in order to protect the majority religion as well. Because when you get government involved in religion, you see what happens when you get government involved in a lot of things. It ends up trivializing, degrading, minimizing religion, using religion for political purposes, and we see that on display all the time. And you know, if you want your religion to be degraded, get the government involved. I mean, the other irony about that is, you know, some of the people who most object when we argue that government has no business being involved in religion are the same people who think government can't do anything else right. You know, they can't plow our streets, they waste all our money, but somehow we feel we can trust them with something as sacred as religion and count on them to do it right, and you can't.
Well, and the same dichotomy exists with the death penalty. And the tragedy of yesterday is, once again, we've reacted to tragedy with bad public policy on multiple levels. If you can't trust the government to plow your streets or build a road or do anything, as many of us can't in Rhode Island, why would you give the power of life or death to the government?
No, absolutely. And again, we see the history of the death penalty in this country, and we have lots of reasons to suspect it. I mean, when you every week or every month there's somebody else being freed from death row as a result of also incompetence, lying.
Just the advance of technology.
Yeah, only through the advance of technology, we now know how many people have been freed, and you have to wonder how many people have been executed for not committing the crime they were convicted of.
One of the hot-button issues in this state is clearly the open meetings law.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it seems to be the selective interpretation of open meetings rulings. I guess out of nowhere, there was a sudden outbreak of good government, and I only read the barest amount about it so far in Mr. Kilmartin's office this week. I guess when he objected to, or actually pointed out an objection for the city of Warwick in violation of an open meeting law. Yet this is routinely abused in this state. Providence is trying to tackle the ethics issue. They've appointed an ethics board. A good friend of the show, Ethan Giles, is a member of that board. And on the state level, there continues to be these attempts to pass some form of ethical legislation with teeth. What does the state need to do at this point? Is there a solution?
Well, it's not just the open meetings law. I would add the open records law to that, too. Okay. They are both two very important laws designed to ensure transparency, to make sure the public knows what's going on. But both of them are either ignored or misused all too often by government agencies. I mean, we file a lot of lawsuits over those issues. About 6 months ago or so, a coalition that's known as Access Rhode Island, it's an open government coalition with a variety of organizations, including the ACLU, did this really thorough report where all the municipalities, school districts, selected about 25 state agencies were all sent a variety of open records requests. And the number of violations of the law, agencies not responding in time, not providing all the information that was requested, was absolutely astonishing. The coalition actually filed 12 or 13 complaints with the Attorney General's office. We picked, some of the worst offenders. We're waiting for the results of that. But it is a very significant problem. I think there are two things that need to be done. One, we need to strengthen the laws. There are loopholes. The legislature did pass amendments to the open records law back in 2012 that I think helped to some extent, but didn't go nearly as far as it needs to. But the second thing really is a need for a change in culture. Rhode Island was the 49th state in the country to pass an open records law. We beat Mississippi. So
we're number one.
But I think, and it was only in 1978 or 79 that Rhode Island passed its open records law. And so I think there's still a sense of secrecy that pervades government officials in dealing with requests for records. It hasn't sunk in that this is a right that the public has. And I think if that doesn't change, we can keep on passing amendments to the law, but it's going to be a problem.
It's the core of the law that needs to be changed. It's something that I call, and I see this in a lot of laws, a lot of bills that get written. I'm sure you see it. I mean, your list of legislation that you're working on in the State House on your website is outrageously big. I mean, it's all over the map. Yeah. But I think a lot of that comes down to we write laws, or legislators in this state write laws that are either A, unenforced, or B, unenforceable. And I think a lot of that comes down to what I call squishy language. I mean, I think they write them intentionally very vaguely so that they can say, "Oh, well, we never intended that to be executed that way." Would you say that's a pretty fair assessment?
Well, it's part of the sausage process.
Yeah.
A lot of compromise goes on in order to get legislation passed, and sometimes what the compromise is